Everyone here tonight for the Ordinary Council meeting on this night, Monday the 6th of November 2023. If we could all stand for the opening prayer and custodian statement. Almighty God, grant this council wisdom, understanding and sincerity of purpose for the good governance of this city. Amen. And I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we stand and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Thank you. Take a seat. Do we have any apologies this evening? Yes, Councillor Ziegler.
Yes, Mayor, we have an apology from Councillor Otha Akoch owing to a very sad bereavement.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Can we get a mover to accept that apology? Councillor Arnott and a seconder. Councillor Taylor. Can we have a vote? All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Next we'll move on to the confirmation of minutes. So you'll see in the agenda there's the scheduled council meeting held on the 2nd of October 2023 and also the scheduled annual meeting of council held on the 23rd of October 2023. Can we get a mover to accept those minutes? Councillor Paspaliaris, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Ziegler. All those in favour? Councillor Jelly? Yep, passed unanimously. Item 4, conflicts of interest. Do we have any conflicts of interest tonight? Councillor Taylor.
I have a conflict of interest in items 7.12, Ziegler Parade car parking upgrade. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Councillor Taylor, you're talking to Ziegler Parade car parking. It's 7:11.
Is it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I shall amend that to 7.11.
1, yep. Thank you. Once we get to that item, we'll ask you to leave.
It's 7:12.
7:12, yeah.
Yeah, 7:12.
Is 7:12.
Oh.
Okay. Let's go for this.
Sorry, it is. I'm sorry, Councillor Taylor. All right, once we get to that item, we'll ask you to please leave the meeting.
Okay.
We'll just move on to the mayoral presentation. On the weekend, we had a bit of excitement up at Flagstaff Hill with Wreckfest 23 happening on Sunday. It was a great event organised by a dedicated subcommittee of the Friends of Flagstaff Hill and supported by Flagstaff Hill. More than 400 people were seeking traditional trades, craft skills in action, and these included a porcelain flower maker, blacksmiths, a sock maker, a weaver with a loom, hand shearing, quilting, wool spinning, cheese making, and a Cooper's display and more. Music included a brass band, a pipe band, and the Tin Shed Singers. Also, the 80-pound cannon at the Garrison also got fired on Sunday as well. The food available on the day was a modern interpretation of some of the food that you might have found on the wharf back in the 19th century. And a regional brewery and distillery also set up at Flaggy. It was a really exciting day. Every building was activated and it was a real draw card for local residents and regional visitors. I'd like to say congratulations to everyone for a successful festival that really showcased the best of Flagstaff Hill. And I'd also like to just point out as well that we're starting our budget consultation early this year. We're going to actually be holding 2 sessions, one on the 16th of November between 1 and 3 p.m. and another one on Tuesday the 28th of November from 6 till 8. So if you could get down, we'll have a bit more to talk about as we move forward, but we're trying to get the engagement early and trying to put it out there to go, well, here are the things that can be influenced in the budget to really try and respond to the needs of the community in our council plans. So I look forward to seeing you there as well. We'll move on to public question time. Are there any public questions tonight, Mr. Mason?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. We've got 2 questions or public question time questions. The first is from Helen Brown. Does Helen want to ask her question?
I think my voice will carry. I'm back again, Catherine Hand, councillors Andrew, looking for the risk assessments that were done for the Westmoreland Neighbourhood in Pecton Park. I have read the child safety policy, which I'm sure you will all be intimately familiar with, and I understand that those assessments should be documented by the council to best practice and under your own policy and the child safety standards. That's my first one. I would like to know when that's going to be forthcoming. This is the 6th time I have been before council requesting these documents. My second question is, when will the documents be presented that were made public at the community consultations? Because I understand in my absence, I've been informed that the visibility of those documents was very, very poor, and there was an undertaking at those consultations that those documents would be released as soon as the consultations were over. And when will the results of the consultation be available to the public so that we may see what has occurred and what the concerns are? Thank you.
So to answer Helen's question, a report in relation to the the West Warrnambool Neighbourhood Community House is proposed to go to the December council meeting. The presentation from the focus group discussions, which include risk assessment material, I will make sure that they get up as soon as possible onto our website. All of the other issues will be part of, and all of the information that council needs to make its decision will be part of the final report or the report that goes to the December council meeting.
But it won't be available to the public before.
Well, the information on our website provides that, and it will be part of the council agenda, which goes up.
Which was last updated in August.
Okay, I'm not.
Sorry, what do you mean it was last updated in August?
The last time there was a West Warrnambool Neighbourhood House update was in August, and it was prior to any of the consultations taking place, and it was what was going to be proposed in the future.
Ah, I see.
I've been looking, I can tell you, on the website for some information.
I'm confident that the information should go up in the very near future from the consultations, as in the slideshow.
Yeah.
But the information on what comes out of the community, from the community consultation sessions, that'll come up in the report in the December meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Any other questions?
And
Mr.
we have a second question from Nicole Parks in relation to the planning item.
I'll try. Hi. I just wanted to ask, in regards to the Granter Street, Lamon Street development, what traffic management will be required during the building and development period to regulate the number of vehicles parked in the street by builders and developers, which ensure safe passage for school children travelling to and from the Merivale Primary School.
So to answer that, so construction traffic is allowed to park legally in streets. Council's construction inspection team monitors sites such as this one and will continue to do so to ensure that they're parking in accordance with the laws and bylaws.
Yep. And the second question is, what are Warrnambool City Council's plans for the footpaths on Granter and Lamon Street to and from the school to ensure safe and all-weather foot traffic to and from the school?
Thank you. In response to Ms Park's question in relation to that, so what I've been informed is the missing section of footpath from the end of Granter Street on the northern side to link the school will be completed in the next 12 months. Planning for further works to complete several missing sections in the area is also being undertaken as part of implementation of the priority pedestrian network strategy. So it sounds like those issues are at least being addressed.
Thank you. Is that all the public questions?
All the questions, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. We'll move on to the report section, section 7 of the agenda. And we'll move on to 7.1, the scheduled council meeting dates 2024.
Do you want me to introduce that?
Yeah.
So through you, Mr Mayor, this is largely a procedural item. Council is required to set meeting dates There's no proposal to change the date or times, or the days or times of council meetings, so the recommendation is before you.
Any questions on that item before we move to next section? Okay, can I get a mover? Councillor Taylor, seconder, Councillor Arnott. Councillor Taylor, would you like to speak to the item?
No, thank you, Mayor Blain.
Councillor Arnott?
No, thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? All right, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. 7.2, the election period policy.
Again, through you, Mayor, council is required to have an election period policy under the Act. The policy provides guidance on the type of decisions and activities of councillors during the caretaker period to allow the conduct of fair elections. The recommendation before council is to rescind the previous policy and adopt the new policy, which has been workshopped with councillors.
All right, thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions on that from anyone? Can we get a mover? Councillor Taylor?
I would like to move the motion that council adopt the attached election period policy 2023 and revoke the election period policy adopted on the 3rd of August 2020 as per officer's recommendation be accepted.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Can we get a seconder? Councillor Arnott? Councillor Taylor, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Blain. Yes, this new policy ensures next year's council elections and subsequent elections are conducted in a manner that is ethical, fair and equitable and are publicly perceived as such. The current policy, last reviewed in August 2020, is dated and includes numerous references to processes and requirements that no longer exist after the repeal of large parts of the Local Government Act 1989, and therefore a new policy should be developed. Thank you, Mayor Blain.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Arnott?
I'm happy to just support the motion, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on that? Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just add that with the election scheduled for next year in October, there's about a month or so caretaker period. And so during this period, council just needs some policy around major decisions being made relating to the CEO, other reasonable decisions that can be made, and things like big decisions regarding large expenditure, which may be restricted during this time. It also outlines that councillors are not to use council resources in connection with an election campaign, so just trying to be transparent and fair about the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Taylor, would you like to close?
No, thank you, Mayor Blain.
Thank you. Well, if that's everything, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to 7.3, the draft naming of sport and recreations facilities policy.
Thank you again. Through Mayor, the naming of sports and recreation facilities policy provides guidance and criteria that will be used for assessing naming requests at council's sporting facilities. This policy has been developed to assist in naming requests, and we do get, not a lot, but we certainly do get naming requests for pavilions and the like, and this policy provides some guidance around a process that will be used. And so the recommendation is before you, and in that you endorse the policy.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions on that before we proceed? All right, can we have a mover? Councillor Ziegler?
Yes, I've moved that council endorses the naming of council sport and recreation facilities policy.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Paspaliaris, thank you. Councillor Ziegler, would you like to speak to the motion?
Certainly, yes. We've had a little bit of discussion on this in briefing, And it was interesting that some of the discussion was around the statutory requirements of naming policy, as well as the other aspect, whether folks who are still alive could be honoured by naming some of the sporting facilities, and whether we should do the naming in terms of posthumous honour. That was the resolution, that was the discussion around this, and I understand that that's been resolved to the satisfaction of most of the councillors. That brings up quite a bit of discussion in terms of naming folks when they're still naming facilities after people as they're still alive. I mean, while it's a huge honour, other people might object to that particular naming on the basis that they barrack for Collingwood or something like that. Something equally as terrible. Having said that, I'm happy to put the motion to the vote.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, there hasn't been a policy in place which addresses this particular aspect. So obviously there have been some requests over time which relates to this particular scenario. I think that it can be a good thing to have someone who is still alive, who has done something, great over a lengthy period of time and contributed to a particular sporting club or recreational group, who can be honoured in this way. So I think that the policy has been formulated so that there is good consideration, good capacity to consider the naming of a sport and recreation facility to a deserving individual. And I think that being able to do it while someone is alive rather than in memoriam is a good option to have. So I would support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Arnott?
I'd just like to say, all good governance and good decisions need to be backed by a solid policy, and I think this policy is very, very robust and very sound. There is minimal risk within this policy to support naming facilities, and this policy will also give us a standardised approach, and it will ensure that the naming of council sport facilities is consistent with community expectations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Arnott. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Taylor? Oh, yeah. Go, Councillor Taylor, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I support Councillor Paspaliaris's comments that this does sort out this grey area of the past, whereby naming sports pavilions, etc., you haven't been able to name them after somebody living. You had to wait for them until they die. I was saddened to hear this in the past, that you had to wait until they die. So this does clear this grey area, and I'm sure there are plenty of recipients in the community who have put a great deal of work into clubs, and while they're still living, and I think while they're still living, to have this honour bestowed upon them will be a great part of their life. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Jelly?
Thank you. Look, I agree with all my colleagues there in what they've said, and this policy is important because it's got clear criteria to go by. There's boxes to be ticked to ensure that everyone is in agreement, and then the decision will be with council. But it puts it out there that what has to be done to do it, whereas before it's been very grey and it's been very undecided. This now sets it up to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. And I do think that with this policy coming in, it is actually an opportunity to be able to recognise individuals in the community who have contributed so much to their sports or their grounds. Councillor Ziegler, would you like to say anything to close?
Just in brief, Mayor, yes, certainly. It's worth noting that gender equality will be recognised, so that council's committed to promoting and achieving equality when considering a naming proposal. That's really worthwhile, so that there's a balanced gender representation in named facilities, and also that Aboriginals' names are taken into consideration as well, because the Aboriginal folks have a rich and continuous connection to our area, and the use of traditional Aboriginal names is encouraged. So I think that needs to be mentioned in the light of this naming policy.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. If that's everyone who wishes to speak, put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item 7.4, Key Worker Accommodation and Affordable Housing Exploratory Project.
Thank you, Mayor. This report outlines a proposal for council to commence a formal process for consulting and negotiating in relation to a proposal to develop part of the former Saleyard site for 40 to 50 units. The units would be used or be available for key workers and affordable housing. And this initiative is being suggested in response to the significant housing shortage that's occurring in Warrnambool. The housing would be managed by a community housing provider, not by council. The recommendation is in 6 parts, and that's before you, councillors. I think the key thing is that this is the start of the process, not the end of it. So the recommendation is there.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Any questions on that? All right, can we get a mover? Councillor Arnott.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Arnott. Can we get a seconder? Councillor Paspaliaris. Thank you. Councillor Arnott, would you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think we're all very aware of the severe and critical housing shortage we have in Warrnambool and how that impacts on all industry, you know, our health, our education and construction. They're all experiencing a shortage of key workers, and it's absolutely impossible to find homes for them at the moment. We're currently sitting at a 0.8% rental market, where the national average is a 4%, so it just goes to show the dire situation that we're in. We, as well as it having a detrimental effect on our community, it's not a problem that is just going to right itself. It's just not going to naturally correct itself. So we really do need to look at this. We don't actually have a housing provider in Warrnambool, a housing agency, to provide this type of accommodation as well. And this project, we're being presented with an opportunity to help address this critical shortage. And it's on land on Harrington Road, which I'm sure most people are aware of, which was a former buffer zone of the Saleyards, which it's been identified as a possible site. And we're looking at, on that site, 40 to 50 dwellings of prefabricated modular construction. They'll be self-contained. They'll be a mix of 1, 2 and 3 bedroom accommodation. This can all happen while we are still considering the long-term future use of the Saleyards. We also have the opportunity here. We're well along the way if we can secure a housing provider, and the benefits of something like this to Warrnambool are just enormous. You know, we'll have lower occupancy rates, higher rates of economic stimulation, and the risk of homelessness decreases. So there's just so many benefits to being able to promote this type of project. So I am happy to support this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Arnott. Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. This, as has been noted, this is sort of the start of the process. With the Southwest, it doesn't really have the presence of a community housing agency to lead and manage projects like this. So this can possibly be a start of something like that. Council's role here is really to try and facilitate a project like this, so the meeting, the agreement, the execution of a key housing project with all the relevant parties. And I think that if council could consider a project like this, it can trigger further funding being allocated for our region, which I think will be a positive thing. And then this housing agency can then continue on in providing this type of support. The project needs a lot of different pieces to come together, and unless that all happens, it may not come to fruition. But I do believe that there's an opportunity here for council to initiate something. And I would also add that there will be community consultation as part of this process to gauge public support and feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Jelly.
Thank you. Yes, this is a very important piece of work. It's an exploratory project proposal, as it is now, that's been brought to us tonight. And it would benefit the whole community if after we receive this information back. We're fully aware, as everyone said, we're in a critical housing shortage, and the information that this project will return to us once complete will have consulted, as Councillor Pasparo said, with the community, both state and federal governments, appropriate community housing agencies, the Minister for Planning, and all important parts of this investigation are critical to be brought back to us for us to consider that this project go ahead. It is important. It is in the buffer zone of where the sale yards was, so it's an opportunity if all the ducks line up with the information, and I look forward to hearing back the outcome after all this consultation's done.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Councillor Ziegler.
Yes, Mayor, it needs to be noted that I've been impressed by the quality of the work that's been put into this particular project by the council staff. Kudos to you folk. It's the council is the proposer of a possible partial answer to a dire shortage of worker housing. But the plan is to do it in a way which is acceptable to the neighbours with good quality residences. I know that the immediate reaction to the words transportable homes and affordable housing sometimes conjures pictures of low quality housing stock, and the reaction of the creation of a low cost area. But this is affordable, not social housing, and it doesn't come with the same regrettable overtones. Providers will have to be found to meet the higher levels of expectation that council is imposing on the project, and above all, the community must have this input, and that input must be heard and heeded by council. We've already been accused in recent times of destroying some people's homes with the Morris Road project, and I don't want that to happen with this particular one. As everyone has said, and as the motion clearly points out, we have to do due diligence so that we get this project right. We do need worker housing. We do need some affordable housing to be created in Warrnambool. We need to be done in a creatively innovative way so that the neighbourhood isn't adversely affected, and that neighbours can be proud that we've done them right.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I'd just like to endorse my fellow councillors' comments, and whilst there are no public projects for affordable housing in the short term, it is very worthy and admirable for council to explore the possibility of activating council-owned land to install up to 50 prefabricated modular units as key worker accommodation and affordable housing and engage with the community to receive feedback on the project. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. I'd just like to add that this is the start of the project and we are consulting. So nothing's been decided yet at this point in time, but it's a really exciting project. There is, housing is a huge issue across the country and there is state and federal funding there. And, if we can actually get an affordable housing provider here in Warrnambool, it's not just for Warrnambool, it's actually for the whole region, to be able to provide that kind of housing, not only for workers, but for everyone to be able to live here and to be happy and healthy. Councillor Arnott, would you like to close?
Yes, I will. I'll just further endorse. We are at the very, very early stages of this project. I feel it is very exciting and I sincerely hope that we are able to get this over the line. I will just make one comment, and it's directed at you, Councillor Ziegler. I don't think we've been known as a council to destroy people's homes.
No,
No.
we have been accused of that.
No, we have not to my knowledge. Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. However, this is all about providing for those people that are very much in need. It is also about recognising the fact that we need workers and we need affordable housing. Affordable housing is different to social housing. I just want to make that clear. So I'm very much for supporting this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Arnott. We'll put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Sorry, Councillor Jelly. Yep, passed unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item 7.5, Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation.
Mayor, this is a very procedural item in that council's planning officers are required to be authorised under the Planning and Environment Act. A four-part recommendation, as I said, procedural in nature.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions on that? No? Can we get a mover? Councillor Paspaliaris, what's the motion?
I would like to just move that we accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Arnott, thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Paspaliaris?
I will just clarify that with staff changes in this particular department, it does trigger the need for a council resolution, and this resolution allows the named officers to perform all the aspects required of their role.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Arnott, would you like to add anything?
No, thank you, Councillor. Sorry, Mayor Blaine.
Would anyone else wish to speak? No, thank you. If there's no, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. We'll move on to item 7.6, the Council Plan Actions 2023-2024, July-September, Quarter 1. Mr Mason.
Through you, Mayor, the council plan actions for July-September are presented. This report and future reports are an important means for councillors to track progress of the organisation against the council plan. It's recommended that council receive this report, noting that we're tracking well, early days, first quarter.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Do we have any questions? Can we get a mover? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I'd like to move that the council plan actions 2023-2024, July to September quarter be received. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Councillor Taylor. Can we get a seconder for that? Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. Upon reading all these reports, I'm happy to see the majority of them progressing in achieving their actions as set down for the 2023-2024 plan and budget process. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to highlight a few of the actions. I'd like to just note that the South Warrnambool flood investigation project continues. There's a third community engagement due on the 8th of November this week. I'm also happy to see that there will be some consideration in a possible increase in FOGO collection over the warmer months, so that is being considered. There is continuing work on the citywide business survey, And very pleasing to me is city parking strategy has been progressed slightly to the draft brief stage, so it's ready for its next stage with consultants. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Paspaliaris. Do any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Jelly?
Thank you. Yes, this is a great report to get. I've always enjoyed reading it through to see where some things have progressed. There's a lot going on in enhance the maternal child health program for childcare for children up to 4 years of age, making sure our early years services meet needs for our culturally diverse community, deliver various things for compliance and in infrastructure for all abilities community, keeping up with programs for our youth. And it's really good that to see that some projects that have been put on hold over the last 12 months or so are going to progress in the coming year. So that's really good to see those opening up and starting to gain some traction.
Thank you, councillor Jelly. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Arnott?
Yes, I support all my colleagues' comments, and it's really good to see how everything is progressing. But I just want to give a shout out to the economic development team, one of my little pet projects, of course. They've been establishing an online and hard copy approach to an investment and attraction prospectus, which details all of the information that for businesses, investors and families to move or to consider moving to Warrnambool or investing in Warrnambool. And this project is nearly 50% complete, so I think that's a great effort. So well done to the EcoDev team.
Thank you, councillor Arnott. Any other councillors wish to speak? With no further speakers, councillor Taylor, do you wish to close?
No, thank you, Mayor Blaine.
If that's the case, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Moving on to 7.7, the September Finance Report. Mr Mason.
Thank you, Mayor. This report presents the September or first quarter financial report. The report shows that council remains in a good financial position. There is an unfavourable quarterly result, which I'm confident is mostly due to the timing of capital works. It's also important to note that this report contains the $20 million worth of carry forward budget items. These items are largely for capital and projects that are underway and needed to be carried forward. It's certainly something that we'll be keen to watch carefully in future years around this carry forward amount. The recommendation is that council receive the report.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Can we get any questions on that item before we look for a mover? Can we get a mover? Councillor Paspaliaris.
I move that council receive the quarterly financial report for the period July to September 2023.
Thank you. Can we get a seconder? Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Paspaliaris.
Yes, I'll just say that a couple of things where the Lighthouse Theatre figures are up, which that is pleasing, and that the early learning centres are operating at capacity. I'm sure that is quite a feat. There's still some ongoing concern with vacancies across a number of departments. That's quite a large sum, and it does state that the preschool sector and casuals in recreation and tourism are proving to be very challenging in terms of attracting employees in those areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Ziegler? No. No, thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak on the finance report? Very good. Well, if that's the case, we'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. 7.8, the planning permit application for 2 Granta Street and 82 and 84 Ladman Street, Warrnambool. Mr Mason.
Thank you. There is a comprehensive report and detailed recommendation with this report. In summary, it's a planning application to construct 6 dwellings across 3 residential lots. The application has been assessed by council's planners and was deemed to meet the requirements of the planning scheme. The application attracted 6 objections. The nature of those objections is outlined in the report. It's recommended that council issue a notice of decision to approve the permit subject to a number of standard planning permit conditions. So the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions on that before we look for a motion? Do we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I'd like to move the motion is as per officer's recommendation be accepted.
Thank you, Max. Do we get a seconder? Councillor Arnott. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. This planning application has been assessed against the relevant planning controls and is supported by the planning policy being generally in accordance with the objectives of the Warrnambool Planning Scheme. However, appropriate infrastructure will be required to be provided in association with the development, with 9 conditions attached regarding the planning permit. The proposed development will foster both increased housing diversity and housing affordability, which are key objectives of the council's planning policy. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Arnott.
I'm fine, thank you.
No.
Fine, thank you.
Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Jelly.
Thank you. Yes, these particular properties were gifted by this council to the Salvation Army. They're currently, as we know, 3 dwellings on 3 residential blocks of land, which, if approved, will now deliver a total of 6 dwellings and will then provide double the accommodation, vital accommodation for our city, providing increased housing diversity and housing affordability. So I think it's important to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Paspaliaris.
Having read through the planning application, there are obviously some important aspects which have been met or have been improved upon. So things like the street setback, which is 8 metres or greater, which is better or greater than adjoining dwellings, the existing dwellings or neighbours, I should say. That is to help minimise the impact. Maximum height for some of the buildings here is 7.15 metres and the maximum building height allowed is 11 metres. There's also things like rear boundary fences and adjoining fences which are at significant heights. I think from my point of view, I don't think that I have an issue with the number of dwellings. I think I have an issue with 5 out of the 6 being double storey, and just that sort of impact. So I have some concerns around visual amenity and not being as sympathetic to the existing dwellings that are around that area as what could have been. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Any other councillors wish to speak? All good. Councillor Taylor, do you wish to close the debate?
No, thank you, Mayor Blaine.
If that's the case, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Jelly, Councillor Arnott, Councillor Taylor and Councillor Blaine for. All those against? Councillor Paspaliaris, Councillor Ziegler. Motion carried. Move forward to 7.9, the Flagstaff Hill Reimagine Vision and Opportunities Draft, Opportunities Plan Draft Report. Mr Mason.
Thank you, Mayor. This report recommends that council approve the release of the release for consultation of the Flagstaff Hill Reimagined Plan. The plan provides a framework for change and evolution of the Flagstaff Hill site. Following consultation, a further report will be presented to council. So the recommendation is before you.
Any questions on that before we look for a motion? No? Have we got a mover? Councillor Arnott.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I would like to move that the council approves the release of the draft Flagstaff Hill Reimagined document for public consultation for a period of 3 weeks. The CEO may choose to extend the consultation period depending on the feedback received at the completion of the 3-week period.
Thank you, councillor Arnott. Do we get to have a seconder for that? Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Arnott.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Blaine. I'm sure we're all aware that Flagstaff Hill is now 50 years old. The buildings are tired, they're non-compliant, and access for disability is quite challenging. From 2009 to 2019, we have had a loss of 30,000 visitors, which is steadily declining. And council has provided subsidies of $720,000 per year. So we need to look at a new future for the site. We need to address these critical issues, and we need to drive long-term economic, tourism and social benefits to the region. You know, we invested and reinvested into the Sound and Light show that did not result into more visitation to Flagstaff Hill, and what is there now does not drive significant visitation and value add to the visitor market. However, it is located on a prominent site and strategically one of the best locations in Warrnambool. But I feel we're not making the most or best possible use of this site, and data supports that argument. It's very underutilised. And we now have before us an opportunity to explore what could be done to reimagine this iconic site. What we have put before us is visionary and I think exciting. Yes, it is going to be an expensive and long process, but it's not unachievable. And we need to create a demand-driving destination, a destination that tourists and locals will want to frequent, and something that our city will be well known for. So I strongly encourage the community to take an interest and put in your thoughts and on what this document looks like. A lot of effort has gone into this document, and so I really do want to hear from the community their thoughts on it, because we're at a point now with Flagstaff Hill, it's costing you, the ratepayers, money to keep it open, and we're not actually getting a whole lot of bang for our buck. So something has to be done to put the brakes on or to turn it around. So please, everyone, take some interest in this very important document. Thank you, Councillor Blaine.
Thank you, councillor Arnott. Councillor Ziegler.
I'd like to endorse the comments of my fellow councillor. Councillor Arnott has stated the case very aptly and clearly. Flagstaff Hill should be doing more for us as a town. Its current state leaves a lot to be desired in terms of the financial output that we have to make to keep it going. It's not doing what it was intended to do in terms of the tourism dollar. The plan that's been put up, the draft report that's been put up, needs to have the opinions of our community to analyse it and to let us know as their representatives what we can do to improve the situation at Flagstaff Hill.
No, thank you, councillor Ziegler. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Jelly.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. Yes, look, this is a complicated piece of work. It's gone on for many years, the discussion about Flagstaff Hill. Through other councils, it's just gone on and on. We're bleeding from it, to put it truthfully. The ratepayers are bleeding from it. The site isn't fit for what it was intended to be, as Councillor Arnott said, it's 50 years old. We need a reimagining. So I agree, please, community, have a look at what is being proposed. It is exciting, it is interesting. Mightn't agree with everything that's on there, and a lot needs to be worked through, but please don't miss the opportunity. Many other times we ask for community consultation prior to making decision, and it doesn't happen. the community don't put forward their opinion, whichever way they think. And that's what we need to know before we make a decision. There needs to be a new future for this site, and so please speak up about it before it comes back to us again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. I might just add that obviously there's been significant and extensive stakeholder engagement to get to this point. Those groups and those people have lots of passion about Flagstaff Hill. They are well informed about Flagstaff Hill and other components. But obviously now it's time to hear from the community, the people that will essentially love and use the site in its reimagined form, whatever that ends up being. I think from my point of view, the topography of this site has always been a really difficult factor, and I think that also makes the ideas and the consideration and the planning quite complex. So I think it's really important to see that the document has obviously tried to account for a lot of the complexities that site has, and I think it's really an opportunity for the community to, again, let us know what they think. I think we need that final sort of component to be able to analyse and assess things properly.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I am full of praise for Urban Enterprise for suggesting to turn the current boat pond into a geothermal spa, wellness, bathing and relaxation water park that could well turn the fortunes of Flagstaff Hill around and Warrnambool becoming a leading geothermal centre in the state. Also, accessibility must be improved by upgrading and improving the pathways. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any no other councillors speak? Councillor Arnott, do you wish to close?
Just reiterate again that this piece of work, you know, and whatever the future of Flagstaff Hill is, we're not only thinking of the here and now, we're thinking generationally. So, you know, it is a visionary piece of work. So once again, I just strongly urge everyone to step up to the plate and have your say and have a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Arnott. We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. 7.10, the award of the contract for Briley Recreation Reserve Oval redevelopment. Mr Mason.
Mayor, this report recommends that Council award a contract for the Briley Oval redevelopment to Duggan Civil. It's noted that to ensure the project was within the budget, the electrical and lighting component has been removed from the contract at this stage. Officers will explore funding options and this work may be retendered. Obviously, this component is critical. It's not a component that we would drop, but we think there are better ways of delivering it.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions on that before we look for a motion? Have we got a mover? Councillor Paspaliaris, seconder. Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Paspaliaris.
I'd say that Mr Mason has covered all aspects. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ziegler? Yep, you're good?
No, thank you.
Any other councillor wish to speak? I actually, I'll talk about it. It's actually really exciting. We got $1 million from the state government last year, during the last election campaign. It's a really exciting project. It's step one of the Briley Reserve upgrade. And I actually think it's really, really exciting. It's good to see councillor actually trying to get the best outcome as well by piecing off the electrical component of this to try and achieve better value for not just council but the ratepayers as well. And the future use of these grounds is going to be really, really exciting moving forward after the project has been completed. So, yeah, Councillor Paspaliaris, did you want to close? Very good. We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. 711, the award of the beach contract, beach access, Warrnambool City Council 123 ramp and stairs. Mr Mason.
Thank you. This report relates to a contract for beach access at what I would probably incorrectly, hopefully Councillor Taylor will correct me, at the middle section of McGinnon's car park. The works will provide really important public access to this heavily used part of the beach. It's recommended that council award the contract, and the recommendation is before you in three parts.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions on that before we seek a motion? Does someone want to move it? Councillor Arnott. A seconder? Councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Arnott.
Do you wish me to move the recommendation first?
Oh, sorry, yes, I had a brain fart.
No worries. I'll just move the officer's recommendation. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sorry, Councillor Arnott. And you're still
I'll
right the
second,
second. Yep, sorry, Councillor Arnott, do you wish to speak? Sorry.
Look, this is just a perfunctory piece of work. We've gained some funding for this section of the access point at McGinnon's there. We've worked with DECA and MACA in relation to consent of the works, and there'll be some planning go ahead now, so it's all good.
Thank you, Councillor Arnott. Councillor Paspaliaris?
Thank you, Mayor. The beach access 123 has been closed due to safety issues, and it was updated as an immediate priority through the beach access strategy. Firstly, when looking at the cost, I was quite stunned, but then I had further clarification that this beach access will have all abilities access rather, which is mandatory at this site, and there is an expectation rather that a 50-year life cycle of the product would be required. There's been some issues with previous materials being used. I'd also like to highlight that there's been a $150,000 contribution from DECA, which was received by council to go towards this project. So I think it has to be done. It's been closed for too long. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Paspaliaris. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Ziegler?
Just quickly, Mayor, while this is an exciting project, one that definitely does need to be done, it'll be interesting to see if we can make this one last longer than previous beach access under our environmental conditions down there. They don't seem to last terribly long, whatever form they take.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I would imagine this beach access will be very similar to the one at Worm Bay, which has been an enormous success. So it's situated right in the middle of McGinnon's car park. I can envisage this beach access being very popular and badly needed by the community. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Arnott, do you wish to close?
No, I won't, thank you.
Very good. We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Taylor, you declared a conflict on 712, Ziegler Parade car parking upgrade. If you could leave. All right, very good. So we're moving on to item 712, Ziegler Parade car parking upgrade. Mr Mason.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. The 23-24 budget had identified improved parking along Ziegler Parade as an important project to be delivered. When detailed plans were done for this project, it was identified that that drainage and road upgrade works would be required. there was considered to be little point in fixing up car parking if the drainage and road was not in good condition. So this increased the scope of the works and the budget increased to $500,000. It's recommended that the project still proceed, given its importance, but that we allocate council reserve funding to allow the project to be done this financial year.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions before we seek a motion? No? Do we have a mover? Councillor Arnott, what's the motion?
I would like to move that council allocate additional capital funding from council reserves for 2023-24 for the on-street car parking upgrade on Ziegler Parade, Allensford, to expand the scope of works and provide a better outcome for the Allensford community.
Thank you, Councillor Arnott. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ziegler. Would you like to speak to the motion, Debbie? Sorry, Councillor Arnott.
Yeah, that's okay. Thanks, Mayor Blaine. Look, I think it's only common sense to make sure, and it's good practice to do this project thoroughly at the very beginning rather than do it only half-hearted and end up costing us a lot more down the track. Allensford has been renowned for flooding issues, and if doing this piece of work properly can help alleviate any of that and make the whole parking and pathways safer in front of the Freckled Duck, the business there, it's a very good outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Arnott. Councillor Ziegler.
Yes, Mayor, that particular business has grown greater than Topsy in recent years, and it's sort of beaten us all in terms of expectations and the traffic flow that's increased. And I'm all for making it easier in terms of giving more funding to make sure that we get the answers to this particular problem right. Because Allensford has really special problems in terms of their drainage and the water, the flooding issues, all that kind of stuff. And I don't want this project to happen in such a way that it just compounds the current issues. So extra funding to help ensure that doesn't happen is a good thing.
Thank you, Councillor Ziegler. Any other councillor? Councillor Jelly?
Yes, look, this is, it's been an issue out there at Allensford for quite a long time. And it's great that this business out there is doing really well. People are coming out from Warrnambool, locals using, travellers passing by. I think we need to do what's suggested and upgrade and formalise the parking, the drainage, all that sort of thing. Cyclists right out there too, and especially safety for children walking to school past there, that the parking is quite designated and big improvement for all. So yes, I support this.
Thank you, Councillor Jelly. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Arnott, do you wish to close?
I won't, thank you. I think all's been said. Thank you.
Very good. We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Can we get Councillor Taylor back? Thank you, Councillor Taylor. That was passed unanimously. 7.13, the Middle Island Season Report, 2022-2023. Mr Mason.
Thank you, Mayor. The Middle Island Season Report provides an overview of the program, which is run both by council and volunteers. This is an important project providing both research and protection of the little penguin colony, and it's recommended that the report be received.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions? Can we have a mover? Councillor Paspaliaris.
I'll move that council receive the Middle Island Season Report 2022-23.
Thank you, councillor Paspaliaris. Can we get a seconder? Councillor Ziegler, councillor Paspaliaris.
I'd just like to say that it appears that bad or challenging weather conditions have impeded a lot of the observation and monitoring work that's been required over the last 12 months. You can't help that, of course. It's pleasing to see that the education program is popular and has been expanded. And I would also like to thank major sponsors, Pet Stock and Vet Group, for their continued support, as well as the other local businesses and individuals that obviously help to support this project and keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Ziegler.
Yes, I'd just like to sort of underline some of the project highlights, given that I'm on the Middle Island Committee. But there's been no evidence of foxes on the island during the season. The media continues to have an interest in the whole project, principally because of the animal involvement, the penguins and the dogs. We've got continued sponsorship from the two major sponsors, Pet Stock and the Vet Group, and recognition must be made of the volunteers who ensure that this particular project continues.
Thank you, councillor Ziegler. Any other, councillor Jelly?
Yes, thank you. Look, this is always a great report to receive, great to read what they're doing, all the involvement from volunteers and businesses helping out there, and our fabulous staff who coordinate all this. The Little Penguin Colony and the Marine Guard dogs are an iconic part of Warrnambool, so it's very pleasing to see that they have issues to get through, and, you know, as the tides, all that sort of thing going across, all that sort of thing can impede things sometimes, but they come out on top all the time, and congratulations to all involved.
Thank you, councillor Jelly. Any other councillor wish to speak? No. Councillor Paspaliaris, do you wish to close?
No, thank you.
Very good. We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. 7.14, Cycling Reference Group, appointment of community members.
Thank you, Mayor. This report recommends that council receive the Cycling Reference Group's review, thank concluding members and appoint the new members listed in the recommendation. So the recommendation is before you in three parts.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions? Can we have a mover? Councillor Paspaliaris.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move that Council 1, receive and note the Cycling Reference Group Review 2020-23 report. 2, thank the concluding members of the Cycling Reference Group for their contributions to the group over the past 3 years. And 3, appoint the following people to the Cycling Reference Group for the period November 2023 to November 2025. The reappointed members, Helen Ryan, Ellen Trowitz, Richard Adams, and new members, Michael Keeler, Freak Den Barber, Lee Monaghan, Zoe Britton, and Hannah Lee Obst. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Paspaliaris. Can we get a seconder? Councillor Arnott, thank you. Councillor Paspaliaris.
I would just like to say that this group has and continues to contribute significantly and successfully to improving traffic, road, and of course cycling safety. I am impressed that there were 14 expressions of interest received. Unfortunately, 5 new members could be added at this point. I'd also like to send a special thanks to Nicole Wood, who facilitates the group. She is full of passion, full of energy. She spends a lot of time in seeking any funding opportunities for the projects that the group has in mind. I'd also like to thank the concluding members and welcome those new members as well as those reappointed. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Paspaliaris. Councillor Arnott.
I'll pass, thank you. I think Councillor Paspaliaris has said it all very well.
Anyone else wish to speak? All right, councillor Paspaliaris. Very good. We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Congratulations to all the new members. 7:15, advisory committee reports.
So it's a simple report, just providing the records of the advisory committee meetings minutes, and the recommendation is that council records these.
Thank you, Mr Mason. Any questions? Can we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I'd like to move that the records of the following advisory committee meetings be received. Number one, the Economic Development and Tourism Advisory Committee meeting held on the 15th September 2023. Two, Community and International Relations Advisory Committee meeting held on the 26th of September 2023, and the Environment and Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting held on the 28th of September 2023 be accepted. Thank you, Mayor Blaine.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Arnott. Councillor Taylor. Do you wish to speak?
No, thank you, Mayor Blaine.
And Councillor Arnott.
No, thank you.
Anyone else? We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. 7:16, informal meeting of council reports.
A procedural matter, Mayor, just noting the two records of, they're formerly known as records of assembly, records of informal meeting.
Any questions? Can we have a mover? Councillor Arnott. Sorry, go.
I'd like to move that the record of the informal meetings of council held on 9 and 30th October 2023 be received.
Thank you. A seconder, Councillor Paspaliaris. Anyone wish to speak?
No, thank you.
Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. 7:17, the Mayoral and Chief Executive Officer Council Activity Summary Report. Any questions on that? Do we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor Blaine. I'd like to move that the Mayoral and Chief Executive Officer Council Activities Summary Report be received.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ziegler. Does anyone wish to speak to that? Very good. We'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Notices of motion. I don't believe any notices of motion have been received.
None.
General business. Does anyone have any items of general business they'd like to raise tonight? Very good. I don't think there's been any urgent business received either.
None.
Very good. Well, we're going to move into the closed section of the meeting. I was just wondering if we can have a motion to close the meeting. Can we have a mover? Councillor Paspaliaris. And can we have a seconder? Councillor Arnott. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. We'll move into the closed section of the meeting. Thank you.